Cristiano Ronaldo sat alone in his vast, dimly lit study, staring at the aged, creased letter in his hands. His fingers trembled slightly as he traced the handwritten words, his breath slow and steady. He exhaled deeply before beginning to read. The letter was written by a boy named Daniel, someone he had met years ago but had since faded into the blur of his countless hospital visits and charity events. And yet, here was a dying wish, inked onto a simple piece of paper, urging him to remember. "Dear Cristiano, you may not remember me, but you changed my life once. And now, as I prepare to say goodbye to this world, I need your help one last time." The words hit him like a punch to the gut. He leaned back, closing his eyes as his mind drifted back to that hospital visit. He could see it clearly now, the bright-eyed boy with a frail frame gripping his hand, smiling despite his obvious pain. Ronaldo had knelt beside him, spoken words of encouragement, told him to fight like a champion, and Daniel had fought. But now, the battle was coming to an end. Years ago, when I was in the hospital, you visited me. You didn't just sign my shirt, you knelt beside me and told me I was strong. You said I would fight, like you fought to be the best. I did fight, Cristiano. And for a while I won. But now, I have little time left. My only wish is this: find my family. Help them. My father, he never recovered from losing his job. My mother, she never stopped crying. Please, if you ever meant what you said to me, help them. Ronaldo lowered the letter onto his desk, rubbing his temples as he processed the words. He had given Daniel hope all those years ago, but the boy had been the one to truly fight. And now, in his last moments, he wasn't asking for anything for himself, only for the people he loved. The weight of that realization settled over Ronaldo like a heavy blanket. He picked up his phone and made the call. Find them, now. The search began immediately. His team scoured records, made calls, knocked on doors. Meanwhile, Ronaldo sat restless, replaying every moment from that hospital visit. The laughter, the hope, the quiet resilience in Daniel's eyes. It haunted him. After days of searching, his team finally located Daniel's family in a small rundown house in Madeira. Ronaldo insisted on going himself. He arrived at the crumbling house, stepping out of his sleek black car, the contrast between wealth and struggle almost painful. He knocked on the door, and a weary woman answered. Her eyes, sunken with grief, widened in shock when she saw him standing there. "Cristiano Ronaldo, why are you here?" "Because of Daniel." The woman's breath caught. She covered her mouth as tears welled in her eyes, stepping aside to let him in. Inside, the house was modest, worn down by years of struggle. A man, unshaven and gaunt, sat slouched in a chair, his eyes void of life. A little girl clung to her mother's leg, watching Ronaldo with cautious curiosity. Ronaldo sat across from them, placing the letter gently on the table. "He wrote to me. He wanted me to find you. He wanted me to help." Silence stretched between them, heavy and unspoken. Finally the father, his voice barely above a whisper, spoke. "We never told him how bad things were, but he always knew. He always cared more about us than himself." The mother wiped her tears, her voice trembling. "He believed in you, Cristiano. He held onto your words like they were magic. You were his hero." Ronaldo felt a lump rise in his throat. He glanced around the small room, at the framed picture of Daniel sitting on a shelf. He inhaled deeply before speaking. "I can never bring him back, but I can make sure you never suffer again." In the days that followed, Ronaldo ensured the family received a new home, financial stability, and a fresh start. But even after giving them everything they needed, something gnawed at him. The letter still lingered in his mind, as if there was something more he had yet to uncover. Late one night, he sat alone, staring at the letter again. Memories from his own childhood surfaced. The days of struggle in Madeira, the hardship, the uncertainty, and then the kindness of a stranger. A man who had once given his struggling family money when they had nothing. A man who had encouraged young Cristiano, told him he had something special. Ronaldo's heart pounded. He picked up his phone and called his mother. "Mum, do you remember the man who helped us when we had nothing? Do you know what happened to him?" His mother's voice softened. "His name was Miguel. He lost his job. He lost his way. No one knows where he is now." A deep sense of urgency washed over him. He had to find Miguel. His team began searching again, scouring records, shelters, the streets. Days passed before they finally found him. A thin, weary man in a homeless shelter, barely recognizable from the strong figure Ronaldo had known as a child. Ronaldo stepped inside, scanning the room until their eyes met. The old man squinted, his frail body stiffening in shock. Cristiano? Ronaldo knelt beside him, just as he had once knelt beside Daniel. His voice, thick with emotion, came out softly. "You once gave me hope. Let me return the favor." Miguel blinked, his hands trembling as tears welled in his eyes. "I never expected. I never thought. You saved me, Miguel. When my family had nothing, you helped us. And now, I want to do the same for you." Ronaldo arranged for Miguel to be taken care of, ensuring that he was given not just a home, but a place of warmth, comfort, and dignity. A small, sunlit house near the ocean, where the air carried the scent of salt and fresh beginnings. He made sure Miguel had access to the best medical attention, specialists who could help him regain his strength, and counselors who could guide him back from the isolation he had endured for so long. A steady flow of nutritious meals arrived daily, prepared with care, reminding Miguel that he was no longer forgotten. Ronaldo visited often, bringing simple gifts, a warm jacket for the cooler nights, a pair of sturdy shoes, even a football, just like the one Miguel had once kicked around with a young, hopeful boy in Madeira. At first, Miguel had been hesitant, his pride making him wary of accepting too much. But over time, his defences softened, and he allowed himself to embrace the kindness he had once given so freely to others. As Ronaldo stood outside Miguel's new home, watching the old man sit peacefully on his porch with a book in hand, he couldn't help but reflect on the strange, beautiful chain of events that had led him here. It had all begun with a single letter, a plea from a boy who had never asked for anything for himself, only for the people he loved. That one act of selflessness had set Ronaldo on a journey of generosity, not just for Daniel's grieving family, but for a man who had unknowingly shaped the very foundation of his life. Fate had a way of weaving people together, of creating invisible threads that bound souls across time. Ronaldo realized that the kindness Miguel had once shown him had not only shaped his path, but had now come full circle. He had spent a lifetime giving back to the world, yet this moment felt different, more personal, more profound. Some debts could never be repaid, but in lifting Miguel up, in restoring his dignity, Cristiano had honored something far greater than gratitude. He had honored the very essence of humanity. Sometimes, one act of kindness creates a ripple through time, touching lives in ways we can't predict. For Cristiano Ronaldo, a single letter didn't just change a family's fate, it reminded him of where he came from and who he truly was. As he walked away, the letter still in his hand, he held it close to his heart. Some things were worth more than trophies, more than fame. Some things changed everything. And for Ronaldo, that letter would always be a reminder that the greatest victories in life weren't won on the field, but in the hearts we touch along the way.